Welcome to the English Homie Podcast. Let's start today's lesson.
Welcome to the English Homie Podcast. I am Jack, and this is day 3 of our 7-day Advanced English Vocabulary Challenge. During the first 2 days, you learned 40 powerful English words. Today, you will add 20 new C1 and C2 level words to your vocabulary. These words will help you express complex ideas more clearly and sound more confident in conversations, presentations, interviews, and formal writing. Do not try to memorize every word immediately. Listen carefully, repeat each word, and focus on understanding how it is used naturally. Stay until the end because I will test your memory with a quick vocabulary challenge. Are you ready? Let's begin. Word number 1 is ameliorate. Ameliorate means to improve a difficult situation or make something unpleasant less severe. It is a formal alternative to the words improve or alleviate. For example, the organization introduced new measures to ameliorate working conditions. Regular breaks can help ameliorate the negative effects of sitting for long periods. You normally ameliorate a problem, condition, situation, or hardship. Repeat the word. Ameliorate. Word number 2 is juxtapose. Juxtapose means to place two things close together so that their similarities or differences become clear. For example, the documentary juxtaposes life in a crowded city with life in a peaceful village. You could also say, the designer juxtaposed traditional patterns with modern materials. Writers, artists, and speakers often juxtapose contrasting ideas to create a powerful effect. If two images are shown side by side for comparison, they have been juxtaposed. Word number 3 is tacit. Tacit describes something that is understood or accepted without being directly stated. For example, the manager gave her tacit approval by choosing not to object. Here is another example. There was a tacit agreement among the colleagues not to discuss the incident. Nobody needs to say anything openly when an understanding is tacit. Silence, behavior, or facial expressions may communicate the message. Word number 4 is erudite. Erudite describes someone who has extensive knowledge gained through serious reading and study. For example, the erudite professor could discuss history, philosophy, and literature in remarkable detail. You could also say, her speech was informative, engaging, and highly erudite. An erudite person is more than simply intelligent. They possess deep knowledge and can usually explain complex subjects thoughtfully. Word number 5 is volatile. Volatile means likely to change suddenly and unpredictably. It can describe a situation, market, substance, or person's emotions. For example, fuel prices remained volatile throughout the year. The discussion became volatile when both sides started shouting. A volatile situation may appear calm one moment and become dangerous the next. Let's review the first 5 words. Ameliorate means to improve a bad situation. Juxtapose means to place things together for comparison. Tacit means understood without being spoken. Erudite means extremely knowledgeable. And volatile means unstable or likely to change suddenly. Repeat all 5 words before we continue. Word number 6 is assiduous. Assiduous describes someone who works with great care, effort, and persistence. For example, her assiduous preparation helped her perform confidently in the interview. You could also say, the scientist was assiduous in recording every detail of the experiment. An assiduous learner does not depend on motivation alone. They continue practicing carefully and consistently, even when progress feels slow. Word number 7 is succinct. Succinct means expressed clearly and completely, using very few words. For example, Please keep your answer succinct during the interview. Here is another example. The report provides a succinct summary of the main findings. A succinct explanation is brief without being incomplete or confusing. If you communicate an important idea clearly in 1 or 2 sentences, you are being succinct. Word number 8 is incongruous. Incongruous describes something that appears strange or out of place because it doesn't match its surroundings. For example, his casual clothes looked incongruous at the formal ceremony. You could also say, the modern glass building seemed incongruous among the ancient houses. When one element does not fit naturally with everything around it, it is incongruous. The word often highlights a surprising or uncomfortable contrast. Word number 9 is propensity. Propensity means a natural tendency or inclination to behave in a particular way. For example, he has a propensity to postpone difficult decisions. Here is another example. Some people have a natural propensity for taking risks. A propensity is a repeated tendency rather than a single action. You can have a propensity for worrying, learning quickly, overspending, or helping others. Word number 10 is delineate. Delineate means to describe or explain something precisely and in detail. It can also mean marking the exact boundaries of an area. For example, the contract clearly delineates the responsibilities of each employee. You can also say, the map delineates the border between the 2 regions. When you delineate an idea, you make its structure and limits easier to understand. You have now learned 10 advanced words. Let's test your memory. Which word means brief but clear? The answer is succinct. Which word describes something that does not match its surroundings? The answer is incongruous. Which word means a natural tendency? The answer is propensity. Excellent work. Let's continue. Word number 11 is fortuitous. Fortuitous describes something that happens by chance and produces a useful or positive result. For example, a fortuitous meeting at the conference led to a valuable business partnership. Here is another example. Finding the missing document before the meeting was completely fortuitous. Remember that fortuitous originally relates to chance, not simply good fortune. However, it is commonly used when an unexpected event has a favorable outcome. Word number 12 is clandestine. Clandestine describes an activity that is deliberately kept secret, often because it is illegal or unacceptable. For example, the journalist discovered a clandestine operation inside the company. You could also say, they held a clandestine meeting to avoid attracting attention. A surprise party is secret, but it is not normally clandestine. Clandestine suggests secrecy involving risk, deception, or improper behavior. Word number 13 is perfunctory. Perfunctory describes an action performed quickly and without genuine interest, care, or enthusiasm. For example, the receptionist gave us a perfunctory greeting without looking up. Here is another example. He conducted a perfunctory inspection and failed to notice several serious problems. A perfunctory apology may contain the correct words but feel completely insincere. The person performs the action only because it is required. Word number 14 is resolute. Resolute means admirably determined and unwilling to abandon a decision or goal. For example, she remained resolute despite facing criticism from her colleagues. You could also say, the team was resolute in its commitment to improving customer safety. A resolute person listens to reasonable advice, but does not surrender easily. Their determination remains strong during difficult situations. Word number 15 is anomaly. Anomaly describes something that differs noticeably from what is normal, common, or expected. For example, researchers investigated the anomalous results of the experiment. Here is another example. The unusually warm weather was anomalous for that time of year. An anomalous result does not automatically mean that something is wrong. It simply stands out because it does not follow the usual pattern. Here is a quick challenge. Which word describes work completed without proper care or interest? The answer is perfunctory. Which word means firm and determined? The answer is resolute. And which word describes something unusual or unexpected? The answer is anomalous. Brilliant. Word number 16 is acquiesce. Acquiesce means to accept something reluctantly, but without arguing or protesting. For example, after several hours of discussion, he finally acquiesced to their request. You could also say, the employees refused to acquiesce in the unfair decision. If you acquiesce, you may not genuinely agree. You simply stop resisting and allow something to happen. Word number 17 is preclude. Preclude means to prevent something from happening or make it impossible. For example, a lack of experience does not preclude you from applying for the position. Here is another example. The heavy rain precluded us from holding the event outdoors. Preclude is stronger and more formal than simply discourage. If one condition precludes another, the second thing cannot happen. Word number 18 is corroborate. Corroborate means to confirm that a statement or theory is true by providing additional evidence. For example, several witnesses corroborated her account of the incident. You could also say, the new research corroborates the findings of the earlier study. One person may make a claim. Another witness, document, photograph, or piece of data may corroborate it. Word number 19 is obfuscate. Obfuscate means to make something deliberately confusing, unclear, or difficult to understand. For example, the spokesperson used technical language to obfuscate the real issue. Here is another example. Complicated explanations can sometimes obfuscate a very simple idea. Elucidate, which you learned on day 2, means to make something clearer. Obfuscate means to make it more confusing. Word number 20 is arduous. Arduous describes a task or journey that is extremely difficult and requires considerable effort. For example, learning a new language can be an arduous but rewarding process. You could also say, the climbers faced an arduous journey through the mountains. An arduous task challenges your strength, patience, or determination. It may be exhausting, but completing it often creates a powerful sense of achievement. You have now learned all 20 advanced English words from day 3. Let's complete the final vocabulary challenge. Which word means to improve an unpleasant situation? The answer is ameliorate. Which word means understood without being directly expressed? The answer is tacit. Which word describes someone with extensive academic knowledge? The answer is erudite. Which word means to describe something precisely? The answer is delineate. Which word describes a secret and possibly illegal activity? The answer is clandestine. Which word means to accept something without protesting? The answer is acquiesce. Which word means to prevent something from happening? The answer is preclude. And which word means to confirm a claim with additional evidence? The answer is corroborate. Now, choose 4 words from today's lesson. Create one original sentence using each word. Then share your best sentence in the comments. Do not give a perfunctory answer. Be assiduous, remain resolute, and challenge yourself to use these words actively. The process may occasionally feel arduous, but every sentence you create will strengthen your English. This was day 3 of the 7-day Advanced English Vocabulary Challenge. I am Jack, and you have been listening to the English Homie Podcast. Subscribe to the channel and join me for day 4, where we will unlock 20 more powerful English words. Until next time, keep learning, keep speaking, and keep expanding your vocabulary. See you in day 4.